All right, so we're gonna get this podcast started. We're really just winging this. We don't really have a set plan, but one thing that we do know that we want to do is give a brief introduction of ourselves. I guess I'll start. My name is Brandon. I go by the name God of Fissures, and I've been running for about 6 years. I started running. My first run actually was Drox. I got involved with Lornar's races with a lot of the veterans way back when. I'm talking about Posse Dervish, General Ralph, Mott, Sadram, and the Wise. All those old players. They don't even play anymore, sadly. But I started learning on Drox runs, and within a month I was doing just as good as them. So I didn't start out with an easy run like Ascalon or whatever. I just got thrown right into it. Been running, as I said, for 6 years. Had a couple running guilds. They worked out a little bit. Not too long though. They got disbanded. 2008 discovered the Desolation glitch, which was a way to cross the sulfur without using a worm or without using resurrection skills. Been doing little running projects here and there, just trying to fine tune my skills and teach others how to run. It's pretty much all I do now. Teach people, and I'm still running myself. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. Or do you want to go? I don't care. I'll go. So I'm Chaos Theory. I've been running for maybe 3 years now. I think it's about 3 years. Well, I've been running more before that, but it wasn't very serious to me until recently, until the last 3 years. Things I've done, mainly factions running. I'm one of the main founders of the faction run. I found out the Zaquang Skyway clip and how to clip into Ghost Temple, which we'll show later in the podcast.
So is that it?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Alright, I'm Josh. Most people know me as Chix. I've been running since, I want to say, 2010, roughly. I ran a little bit before that. I ran on, like, Warrior way back when, but, not, like, dedicatedly. It was more like a means of making money back then, and, I got more into it when in 2010 was running Eye of the North tours, and I met this guy, and he's like, basically only pussies run Eye of the North tours, and I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, come to Beacon's Purge, and I get to Beacon's Purge, and I meet like 50 new people, and I got really into it, and I met people like Brandon, and people like, Nate. Most of you would know him as Nate or Deadly the Reaper, and Posse Dervish, who's Dan. I've been in lots of running guilds. EC, MCRS, Gods, as in the remake, not the original. Lots of running guilds, and I think that I'm probably mostly known for my YouTube videos. Like, I uploaded a lot of records, like a lot. At one point I had records in 9 zones, I think. I'm mostly a Prophecies runner. I like NF as well, but mostly Prophecies. Eye of the North bores me. Factions came out at a time when I wasn't really running, so it's mostly just Prophecies that I run, and a little bit of Nightfall.
Alright, great. Now that we got those introductions out of the way, maybe we could go over what each of us thinks running is. I know each runner has a different definition of what running means to them. So, what running means to me, it's a quick way to get people to end game, a way for people to skip content, a way for people to quickly complete time-consuming titles like Vanquisher, Skill Hunter, because if you get to all those outposts, you can kill those bosses in each area a lot quicker than if you just play through the game normally. get endgame armor quickly, stuff like that. That's what running is to me. What does it mean for you guys?
Well, one thing I see running as is in a lot of games you see speedrunners run games as quickly as possible, and I really see running as kind of the Guild Wars version of speedrunning, which is we just can get people to endgame very quickly and get people to endgame armor, endgame items, endgame whatever, and we can do that in a matter of an hour, and or not even that, maybe 30 minutes. And because of that, I see running as a very useful tool that everybody should have in Guild Wars.
I'd have to agree with what the other two guys said. Like, I see running as a way of skipping content and becoming better faster. And the other thing that I see it as is a means of competition. Like because it's challenging. You know, most people don't get how complex this shit is once you get to like a deeper level of it. Like, there's a lot to it. It's probably one of the most in-depth things I've done in the game. The only thing that I can think of that's just as in depth are certain speed clears and high-end PvP.
Right. Yeah, there really is a lot to running. Like, which monster to shadow step to, which route to take, because there's a lot of different routes. Some of them are slower and some of them are faster. Which skills to use in certain zones. Which options to use, like in the options screen. Which ones to disable and which ones to enable for better shadow stepping. All these little things that most people don't even think about, and things that we've mastered over the years and things that we're eager to teach you guys through these podcasts.
Right, and even taking it a step beyond that, like there's some zones where if you run them enough, you can even know what skills to use at certain times based on what skills the monsters are using and what order those monsters will use their skills. I mean, it gets pretty crazy.
It sure does. And did you guys want to go through a run right now, just to talk about all the little things that we think about when we go through a run? Any run you want. Pick one.
Doesn't matter to me. I guess I'll leave that decision up to you guys.
Greg, pick a zone.
I'll pick Sulphurous Wastes.
You want to do that one? All right, fine. I'll take us there. There's definitely a lot that I think about when I do this run. Chix, when was the last time that you did Desolation runs?
Shit, man. I think I did one 2 days ago. I did Kodash run.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I thought I remember you saying that you didn't like Desolation at one point. Like, you didn't feel you were very good at it. What changed?
Well, I got a lot of practice at it. Like, I got to a point where I was bored with other runs, and I'm like, well, the mechanics here are pretty interesting. I'm gonna try this, and I got down
Right.
to a 226.
That's a kick-ass time. That's great.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And there's a lot of demand for runs through this area. Like, I've been getting a lot of Kodash requests lately. Which way do you guys want to take? The traditional way or the new way?
I'd say traditional.
All right, let's go traditional. Now, there's not much by way of monster spawns to think about when you're going through this. It's mainly getting from safe spot to safe spot on the sulfur.
Oh, whoops.
You
As
died
can see-
already, bro?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty pathetic. But it's a very much a game of chance as much it is a game of just manipulating one main mechanic. And as you'll see throughout the factions and Nightfall runs, you'll see that runs can be based entirely on one mechanic. Like
Yeah.
in this case, it is the sulfur timer, which we'll get into in a later podcast.
Alright, so basically, it's all muscle memory for me now. But, I know instinctively how long I have to get to the next safe spot as soon as the sulfurous haze effect pops up on my character. And, basically, the way I can run across the sulfurous waste without a worm and without resurrection skills is because after the sulfurous haze expires from your character, think of it as a condition. But once it expires, there's a natural 2-second grace period in which, no matter if you're on the sulfur or not, you can't get the sulfurous haze effect. So 2 seconds after that pops off me, I can't get the sulfurous haze effect. But if I'm standing on the sulfur 2 seconds later, I'm going to get it.
Something that
That's
doesn't
how it
matter.
works.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Go right ahead.
Something that doesn't matter as much in this zone that you'd think about in other zones is, things like gear. And in this zone, there isn't much in the way of gear that you need to worry about as far as having, a certain amount of energy or, an HCT staff. It's basically a zone where you need 50% IMS to do certain things. And other than that, this is probably some of the purest, just if you want to talk about running in the sense of like just running without many shadow steps or anything, this is pretty much as pure as it gets.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can run this zone naked. You don't even need any gear to run this.
Yep. Very true.
And if I remember correctly, you need at least 25% increased movement speed to run this. You don't need 33 or 50. You can do it with 25.
Aren't there certain gaps that you need a higher IMS for to be able to do them in time?
Yeah, there's certain gaps, like certain little shortcuts that you can take that require higher speeds, but I think 25 is the absolute minimum, with perfect timing.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I've seen people walk most of it. There are some gaps that require an IMS, like you guys have said, but it just is a matter of shortcuts and speed that really depends on the IMS.
Yeah, so let's pick a different zone. A zone with a lot of enemies where you're constantly thinking about your positioning, which monster you're going to shadow step to, when you're going to be using shadow form and I am unstoppable. A really good timing. What zone has really tight timing?
Lornars or Ice Dome?
I'd say
Stone?
Lornars.
Lornars. Alright, let's do Lornars. Do a race for old time's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, do you guys want to do the run from here to Beacons, and then we can do Lornars?
Sure.
Here, let me ping the build. I got the quest in Scoundrel's Rise that removes some of the Murgoyles, the guys that cast the Deep Freeze.
Very nice.
Did you get that quest, by the way? That's to Kryta, Journey's End.
I never did. I never had the.
Oh, right.
I was constantly busy with other stuff right now.
Yeah, it makes it so you can use Wastrel's Collapse reliably on this run.
Very nice.
Both ready?
Yes, we are. Well,
Yeah.
I am.
Alright, start going whenever. Alright, that's fine. Now, as I go through this, you guys too, just talk about what you're thinking about. Right now, I'm just thinking about cutting corners, getting lined up to the left of that tree. It's a nice straight line to the hill.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, mostly cornering when I'm not shadow stepping.
Right. Alright, as soon as I round this corner, what I'm thinking of is, I'm getting ready to target Archivist Ithamar, that guy that's standing up there. He's within range to target him now. Now, if you're lucky, you'll shadow step all the way behind him. Which just did. Greg did, and so did Chix. Good. Now I'm thinking about getting this triple step off.
I'm thinking about using my steps right when I get into spell range. Which is different from aggro range or some auto casting range, so make sure you know that.
What do you mean?
Spell range is further away from the target than
it is?
auto casting, and because of that, there's a way to make your steps 100% worthwhile by getting it right when it hits if you target an enemy, you'll see like a yellow haze around them.
Yeah.
And you want to use it right when you get to the yellow haze.
Oh, alright. That's good to know. Now what I'm doing... Oh, go right ahead, Chix.
Right now I'm thinking that I probably should have brought IAU because I am crippled as shit.
Yeah, that's what the quest does.
Don't cripple me. And they crippled me.
What I did back there was, Heart of Shadow got recharged just as I triggered a group of those things. Now, I saved Heart of Shadow because once I get up to that area with the Murgoyles, I wanted to be able to make a quick getaway, and Heart of Shadow made that quick getaway possible. So, not spamming your skills and conserving them for the proper time can be beneficial to you. Alright, go right ahead. Don't forget to shadow step to Aiden. This new mouse is messing with me a little bit. It's got some buttons on the side. My fingers hitting them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I gotta reduce some of my keybinds. Again, just cutting corners. Is that what you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the next step too, because you can land a double step up here.
Yeah, if they're spread out, if they're spread far apart. Don't forget the shadow step to that wolf. Yeah, there you go. Whenever you're ready. So how important do you guys think knowing the spawn is when it comes to making the build and being able to do the run quickly?
Very important.
Very important, yeah. Knowing what you're going to face in each zone is crucial to knowing what skills to bring, because if you just bring the normal shadow form with IAU build, it would be suboptimal to the zone usually. That build is usually made to run the Draknar's run, which is probably one of the most famous runs in this game. And
definitely.
However, that build is not optimal for every run in the game. It can do every run in the game, or close to every run in the game, but it is suboptimal to each run.
Definitely. Like if I didn't know that this zone didn't require spell protection, then obviously I wouldn't bring spell protection.
Exactly.
That's the difference between a good runner and a bad runner. Bad runner will bring the same build everywhere, regardless of the spawn, regardless of which obstacles need to be tackled. We know better.
Another thing to remember before you start Lornars is that this is a zone where gear is important. For instance, I run with 430 health and 51 or 51 energy. I mean, and that's because I'm using a superior mysticism rune, as well as I believe a +1 mysticism rune, so that I get the highest mysticism possible. So that when I switch to my high energy set for the imps, my mysticism skills don't cost as much energy to cast.
Right. Yeah, I don't do that. Pretty much my universal gear set is all sentry runes, which increase your armor when you're using a stance, because I'm always going to be under the Pious Haste stance. So I'm always going to have +10 armor globally, because I have it on each piece. And I use minor mysticism just to get my mysticism up to 14, because that's what you need for 7-second Pious Haste. And the rest I just throw superior vigor and vitae runes on. So I have 585 health all the time, 35 energy. I never run out of energy because I'm using Zealous Renewal. So I don't really use a high energy set to get by the imps. I just Shadow Form right at the beginning.
See, my main set has like mad energy on it and super high mysticism, because that's just what I started running with for the most part. Like when I began running as a dervish, I was like R5 at a time when you needed R10 from Pious, and that I kind of stuck with that because I learned like the benefits of having more mysticism. Because if you look at the mysticism attribute, you actually gain more armor per mysticism rank, and you have the energy reduction. So it's kind of, I don't know, in a way, I don't really know what the word I'm looking for here is, but it isn't really prudent to use armor, in my opinion, when you can use mysticism, which is going to gain more than one benefit.
You can only take mysticism so far, though. I mean, you have 16 mysticism right now.
Yeah, I'm maxed out.
So you're only getting an additional 2 armor globally than I am. I'm getting 10 armor globally by using sentry runes. You're just getting 2 more than me for mysticism alone.
Right, and it is a preference thing. Like I like the high energy. I don't care about the low health. It's it's how I've run everything. I also have 3 armor sets, so I'm not entirely worried about it. I have an HP set. I have like a standard just 14 mysticism set. I've got 3 sets. So it's not something I really worry about too much.
Right. And those additional 2 ranks of mysticism, you're only getting, I think it says each rank in mysticism reduces the cost of dervish enchantments by 4%. So you're getting 8% more energy back per cast of a dervish enchantment. The only enchantment we have is the flash enchantment that we use to make Pious Haste give us 50% speed. So you're really not getting that much energy back.
The thing is, though, is that the main reason for it is the imp trick, because the zone that I tried the hardest to get a record in has been Lornars, and if you use max mysticism and you have 51 energy, and then you switch to a high energy set,
that gets you above 75, right?
Enchantment. Huh?
That gets you above 75 energy, right?
Yes, 77. And
all right.
Well, you need minimum 75, and they can still cast Mind Freeze on you, even if you have 75. It's just if you have 75, before you aggro the mob, they know not to target you with Mind Freeze. The thing is that if you use Zealous Renewal while you're in the pack of imps, it drops you down to 77. It doesn't charge you the full, or it drops you down to 75, not 77. It doesn't charge you the full 5 energy, so you
might charge you like
75.
4 or 3.
It's normally, it's usually from 77 to 75 for me.
Oh, so 2. Great.
Yeah. So you're still within the range where they won't cast.
The possibilities of that being practical are far and few between. Like you said, you focus on getting a Lornar's record. So obviously you're going to do everything you can to give you a better chance of getting a lower time. Greg, what's your opinion on this? What do you use?
For me, I use a high armor set usually. I have Sentry's Insignias, and then I have Vitae, Vigor, stuff like that. And then I also have an alternate set, which is my black set
And that's what you're
right
throwing on
here.
right now.
Yep. This is my black set, which is all radiant and attunement. So this is for high energy needs. Usually I don't use this unless I'm playing around or something. But yeah, it's also helpful if you can do a very quick switch between zones. It's hard to do, but it's possible.
Yeah.
You can switch your armor if you need extra energy. It's very helpful in zones where you need the extra energy, such as Ice Dome. So
Definitely.
that's what I do.
And Frozen Forest, for that matter.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just finding a balance between having the armor and the energy, depending on what you need, and being able to switch between the two.
And that's the thing, you
Right.
totally have to look at what you need. Like, for instance, if you're running a record and you can lose some time by not casting Shadow Form when you encounter a group of imps, then that's going to be faster because every time you cast Shadow Form, it's 1 second.
Yeah. The only group of imps that's actually practical for is the first one, right outside the gate.
Exactly.
Or there's a second scenario, though. There's the scenario where they stop.
Right around
In
that corner
front.
before the worms.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys want to give it a go?
Sure.
Sure.
Got your builds already?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll throw the countdown.
So you might be wondering why most of us used I Am Unstoppable right outside the gate when there's no real chance of knockdown. Well, there is a very slight chance, if you get very unlucky with your stepping, that you can hit one of the traps, which would cripple you. And that choice alone warrants you using I'm Unstoppable at the start of it. And I'm taking a little bit of a... Yeah, I didn't do it. I tried doing it without Shadow Form. But the reason for that is when you're in a race, you can... It's kind of a little bit shady, but you can use other people as your fodder for your
Yeah, I gotta throw up Shadow Form before I go in there.
yeah. You can get lucky and use other people as your fodder for other steps. It's not really the most graceful thing to do, but
It
a
works.
lot of people do it.
Yeah, it's common during runs. Like, if you use everybody else to take up all the casts of Deep Freeze, you can run the entire zone with Wastreless Collapse. That's what Sadraman did all the time on his Monk Assassin.
Yeah, exactly. So what I was going for before with the I Am Unstoppable, we use it out of the gate because of the traps, and the reason why we use it is because we don't need it until it's going to be recharged again. And that's going into the issue of timing your skills. It is something that's very crucial to running, especially in Lorinals, is timing your skills.
IAU timing on the worm path is big.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I want to mention up here is I always cast I Am Unstoppable on that little hill with the tree, because right up here, Dwarven Stability gets stripped like it just did by Chillblains. And I need something to prevent knockdown as I'm rounding this curve, and I Am Unstoppable is that skill. So the proper timing of that skill makes it so that it recharges right when I hit this little lip where Chix is now. So I can cast it again, so that when Dwarven Stability gets removed again, I Am Unstoppable is still here to prevent knockdown. It's all about skill timing.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, I got stuck.
Me too.
It's alright though, just muddy for a little bit. You're out of the muddy, right?
Yeah, I'm out.
I'll be out in a
It
moment.
fucked up the shadow form timing though. That's another thing to
Right.
watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Run in there so I can get by. Oh shit, there's a heretic here.
That's interesting.
It happens sometimes. I mean, I'm gonna die right here, but sometimes a group of stones summit. Where the hell is he? Oh, there he is. Sometimes a group of stones summit spawns right in this area that I'm circling right now on my minimap. And
It's actually not too uncommon, and if
yeah.
you pay attention, you can pull them.
Right. Well, if you pay attention, like I wasn't paying attention there. I was just paying attention to getting by the golems, but you can bind a key to, I think it's, what is it?
I found your heretic.
Yeah, I know. You can bind a key to targeting show targets, and when you press that key, all the enemies within range will be highlighted in red. So, one sec, let me just move the camera here. You can see I'm pressing it right now, and it's highlighting all the hostile Grawl that are a little bit down the path from Chix. And you can use that, just tap it real quick and look for the names. And if there's a enemy that you need to pop shadow form for, you know to pop it before you reach there.
Another thing is going back to what you were saying before about IAU timing on the worm path. There's very specific spots where I do that, and that's simply because of the way that I avoid the worms when I'm not using ale. Basically, worms travel in one of two very specific paths. There's other alterations on it, but there's two like main paths that the worms travel on. And if you take certain paths, you can avoid them. However, there's the path where there's a scenario where there's no worms that spawn, which is possible.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a scenario where you can't avoid them. Those are the two absolute scenarios, and there's probably, I'd say, 3 or 4 variations in between.
Yeah, I never got a hang of those patterns. I know that Jerome did way back when.
Yeah, that's how I learned them when I was in MCRS. Basically, there's 2 routes, and I have to zoom all the way out to mouse click very specific spots to do it right. But that's something I'd have to cover in another video. Basically, the best option is to cast IAU at a certain point, so that when you get into range of, it would be like the 3rd worm, it's the one after the one that spawns in the Grawl pack.
Right.
There's going to be a little bit of a spot there where if you're going to get hit, that's where it's going to happen. And I try to make sure that IAU is up in that spot.
It's that predictable?
Normally, yeah.
Wow. And you click certain coordinates with your mouse to go to a certain point in order to avoid the worm, or time I am unstoppable at a certain point?
No, to avoid the worm normally, but like I said, there's a certain scenario where you can't. There's a certain scenario where the worm spawns directly in the path you're going to take. It's very rare,
So sometimes
but it
you're
does happen.
going to get screwed. It's inevitable.
Yeah,
Right.
Totally.
That's cool. I didn't know that, to be honest. I never really bothered to learn all the patterns that the worms take. I usually just pop a nail. And way back when, with the old build, with Don't Trip, yeah, you can zone into Dreadnoughts if you want. With Don't Trip, the timing was so precise that you could avoid knockdowns regardless of the spawn. I really miss the old build, by the way.
Me too. With this build that we use now, it's just not as well made.
It's not that it's not as well made, it's just... it's annoying because everything gets stripped all the time. Like, you always have to worry that Dwarven stability is gonna get stripped. And that's just... it fucks with me.
the old build was like that car that you own that's, virtually indestructible that you beat the shit out of and it just, takes a whole lot of beating. This build is like a Ferrari. It's a lot faster.
It's
but if you
faster, but
beat
it's
the shit out
fragile.
of it, yeah, exactly.
Alright, so do you normally pop a level 5 ale when you're running through this zone? Because I do.
It depends on whether I'm running another person or not. If I'm just going for it, usually in my videos or whatever, I won't, because I want to learn IU timing here. But
Right.
if I'm running somebody, I would use a ale to make it just a matter of shadow stepping.
Yeah.
Well,
Factoring the times
Go
of
ahead.
don't trip, it was a lot easier to time I am unstoppable because you had don't trip for those little scenarios that would pop up randomly, like a group of those azure spirits that pop up out of the ground. You could just throw don't trip and get by them easily. We don't have don't trip.
the other thing is that you don't always have to use a level 5 ale. For a long time, when I was doing runs, I would go through periods where I wouldn't run any people. I was just recording a lot. And I would buy ale from the merchant, which is level 1 ale, and I figured out, pretty much precisely what you need in each zone for ale to get by, and you can do the whole run with 5 level 1 ales.
Right.
That's 1 in Lornars, 1 in Dreads, 3 in Snakes, and 1 in Talus at the end.
You don't actually need an ale at all in Dreadnoughts. If you time I am unstoppable properly, a 20-second IAU will last you for that zone.
You don't
Right.
need one in Talus either, if you're going that route.
Actually, if you're using I am unstoppable, you don't need an ale in Talus. But if you want the ally step for that extra bit of speed, then you have to use a level 1 ale.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
So I'm gonna pop a level 5 here. I don't know what you guys are gonna do.
I'll
I just
probably
used-
pop a grog. Yeah.
3 level 1s, yeah.
Alright, go whenever. This zone is really casual for me. I like how smooth it is. There's really nothing to worry about too much.
This one, if you're using an ale, it's just a matter of getting your steps, making sure that they're in the path that you're going to take, and making sure that you use each step as effectively as possible.
Exactly. Shadow stepping is huge here.
And as you'll see later in this zone, you'll see that there are a lot of time savers. Like there's...
They're random,
see,
though.
I just wasted a step because he was right next to me. I didn't target in time.
Now, what I typically do here is a bit of strategy. Is I save a shadow step around here. Because there's a very rare chance that there will be an enemy over in this area that I'm circling on my mini-map that will spawn close enough to the mountainside, like right around here, where I can shadow step to him. Right now, obviously, he's not there, but it can save a matter of 20 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. There's I think there's 2 or 3 steps that can save a lot of time like that. One's near the end. There's that one, and I think there's one more like right before the troll cave.
That's right, you can Heart of Shadow down that cliffside if you get the right spawn.
There's actually a variety of ways to get down that cliff. I'd say there's, at the very minimum, 3 steps that can save time here. Like, it's really all about cutting corners. That's what you have to be thinking about
Right.
when you're doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come over here for a minute, Chix. Over right here. Sometimes, a group of dwarven allies will spawn in this general vicinity, and if you get here fast enough, I think you can use Heart of Shadow off them to get down this cliff. I tried it once.
I don't know if it works with the new HOS update.
No, you can get down the cliff, I just did. But, I just don't know if you can get to the group fast enough to use Heart of Shadow off them.
That's what I'm talking about, is the mob positioning. By the time you get there, I think they will have moved.
The only
Too
way
far
you could
for-
do it is if you didn't bring I Am Unstoppable, took the chance of not bringing I Am Unstoppable and used a level 5 Ale and Lornars,
Yeah.
and brought an ally step instead. That's the only way I think it would work. Or if you had somebody run you here, so you could intentionally do record runs. Now I notice you mouse click a lot, Chix.
Yeah, I do. It's faster. You know, if you want to talk like the fastest way to get from point A to point B, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing I don't like about mouse click though is that sometimes when you're going around certain corners, it'll pause you momentarily.
Well, as long as you make sure that oh, it's going. 1 second.
Sure.
As long as you make sure that right before you hit the place that you clicked, you pressed R or W or something, then you should be fine. But as it's going, mouse clicking your corners is going to give you the most optimal route, because it's going to be a computer generated route that's meant to be optimal. So because of that, getting from point A to point B
Heretic up here.
is always going to be mouse clicking. Another thing that I do is when I want to step to somebody, I space bar my targets, because it's always going to give me the optimal route to that target. And
Greg,
what?
why you do this?
Why do I do what?
You know what? You just like you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep.
Bastard.
But I spacebar my targets, and then I wait to use my steps right when I get to the haze, like I said before.
You're talking about that yellow ring around
Yeah, the yellow ring.
the target on the minimap?
Right when you hit the edge of that yellow ring, you should step. Basically, there's plenty of ways to do your steps. For me, I manually mouse click them. It's probably not the most optimal thing, but
Sometimes
I
it
do
is. Sometimes it's the only choice.
yeah, very true. A lot of people also hotkey them to their side mouse buttons. I think Chix does.
Yeah, I do.
And that can be seen as more optimal.
You're talking about highlighting every enemy and then clicking the one that's pertinent to the situation?
Yeah.
Right. What I normally do is I have a key next to my movement keys. I use the arrow keys to run, by the way. I don't use WASD. I have the 0 key on the numpad, which I tap really, really quickly to highlight the enemy that I want to shadow step to. And I do that in most situations. But sometimes when I need to make that split-second target to get that really quick double step or even a triple step, I need to click on the enemy manually. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of practice.
If you guys want to give me a sec here, I can actually open up my options menu and tell you exactly what the keys are, what they mean, and why.
Great. I'll open up mine so the viewers can see.
Alright, cool.
Just tell me where you are so I can move to the corresponding pane.
I'm in controls, and basically what I use is a variety of skills. I use WAS and D to move, and I hold the right mouse button when I want to strafe. But as far as target selection, to target ally nearest, I use Q. I don't have a clear target keybind. Foe nearest, I use C, and I use that for a very specific reason, which I'll get to in a second.
I'm interested about that.
Target foe next, I use tab. The reason I use C to target the closest foe is not because I want to step to it. I use it to refresh my tabbing selection, for lack of a better term.
Really?
If you press C, it resets what you're tabbing to, because the tabbing goes in like a cyclical order.
I actually learned
from
that
like nearest to far to furthest away.
Yeah, I actually learned that from Yuri.
I didn't
He
know
taught
about that.
me. Um, if you're cycling through and you miss the target, hit C, cycle through again, and it'll be faster than cycling through every single mob within compass range.
Wow.
But yeah, that's basically my setup as far as skill targeting. Like Fizz said, you do need to mouse click if you're running zones. Like I think it's the T-Hark Orchard zone
Ooh.
in Nightfall. I do a double step to cut the first corner, and then I step to another mob immediately after this, somewhere in the middle of the pack. And then in order to target the farthest enemy mob, you basically almost need to mouse click there.
Yeah, well, you need to mouse click a lot of them on that because of how high up they are, because there's a lot of different varying heights in the terrain. You're going upstairs and everything. Do you have a key bound to targeting show others?
I don't think I do actually.
That's what I use to target all my allies, except for the ones that are like alone. I use target ally nearest. But for like the guy in this zone in Talus Shoot, Hakno the Greater, I use target show others, which is the second one from the bottom on the control page, and it shows all the allies within range, just like targeting show targets does, like I demonstrated in Lornar's with the Grawl. And you can click the ally you want to target through the terrain. It's really cool.
That's really neat. Normally I just use Alt when I'm, mouse clicking, and I just click them that way, but that's definitely a better option.
Alt is target show others.
It is? It's
Yeah.
I think it defaults at slash. No, oh, you're right.
Sure?
Left alt.
Yeah.
You're correct. Yeah, so you're doing the
So-
same thing as me, Chix. You just didn't really
Okay.
know. You just didn't know which command you were using.
So, do you guys want to end with the T-Hark to Code Astron?
Fine by me.
Well, do you want you guys? Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
sounds good.
It's extremely fast-paced. It's all about shadow stepping. And the build is one of a kind as well. I think this area is the only area where I would even consider using Shadow Meld. Did we give this build to you, Chix?
Yeah, I've got it.
Alright, this one.
Yeah, I just drop HOS for Vipers and organize my skills a little differently, but yeah.
Okay, yep, good. You all set, Greg?
Yep.
Now the double step
So,
in the beginning is really
yeah.
important here. Talk about that a little bit, Greg.
So how to double step? One thing, you need to have a key binding, or a option, that's in your general tab.
I'm going through it right now, so just keep talking and I'll
Yeah.
point to the viewers.
In your general tab, that's called double click to attack and interact. That must be checked in order to double step. The reason for this is because the way a double step works, somebody's owned.
Yeah, because Chix didn't have his build, but go right ahead, continue.
Oh, okay. Basically, the way that it works is, you'll have two targets, two allies or two foes or two whatever. And basically the way it works is that you target the first one, the one that's closer to you. You queue up Ebb and Escape, and because you have double click to attack and interact, you can click the second person without canceling the first skills being used on the first person. So what you do is use the skill, you use your first step on the first enemy or ally, and then you target the next ally without changing anything, without canceling it or anything. Once the first step is used, you immediately use the second step, and what that will do is a rapid succession of steps. and that's called double stepping or quick stepping.
Yeah, it's a method that I came up with a few years ago, I think back in 2010, when I was trying to maximize the speed of this run. Me and Miss Dervish came up with this method. And I'm going to demonstrate it. Once we zone, I'm going to ask you guys just to stay put while I go through that double step a couple times. Just so I can explain it thoroughly to the viewers. Alright, so I'm moving as normally, and as soon as we get in range, we have that guy Convey. So right immediately, I'm going to cue my Shadow Step. And right in the middle, as I'm moving to the guy, ready to Shadow Step to him, I'm going to be targeting the Vabian Noble that's right beyond the wall. He's moving right now. But as soon as I Shadow Step to Convey, since I already have the Vabian Noble targeted, I'm immediately going to use another Shadow Step on him. So it's going to look like I'm immediately going to him. Rezone, guys, so I can do it really quickly. It's going to be really fast. So just watch very closely. You guys can run with me on this one if you want. So I targeted Convey. I'm queuing the Shadow Step. Targeting the Vabian Noble. Boom. Just like that. I can do the same thing here. Boom. Quick, quick, quick. No time wasted at all.
Do you want to go over aftercast?
Sure. Go right ahead.
So, in an update that was forever ago, ArenaNet added aftercast, which is basically a period of time in which you can't do anything after you use a skill, and it's a very short amount of time, like a fraction of a second, and I believe it's 3/4 of a second for shadow steps.
It is.
Yeah. Basically, all shadow steps that target a foe, that like specifically target a foe, have aftercast. And what this makes it do is if you try to quick step, it'll be a lot slower than if you use ally steps. Ally steps have no aftercast, so immediately once you use the first step, you can immediately use the second. Yeah, that's basically aftercast, and that's how.
Yeah. I'll explain it a little bit. Way back when Factions was released, every single Shadow Step did not have an aftercast, which means that when you casted the Shadow Step, there was no period of time where you couldn't do anything, such as cast a skill or move. You'll notice when we run these days, when we use a Shadow Step such as Dark Prison or Death's Charge, there's a brief pause between when we Shadow Step to the enemy and when we can continue moving again. We're standing still for 3/4 of a second, and that's the aftercast. Now, why they implemented the aftercast, I don't really know. It was probably for PvP balance reasons, and they kept the change in PvE for some reason. Whatever. It sucks for runners. There are still a couple Shadow Steps, such as Spirit Walk, which is usable in a couple areas. I think it's right here that I'm highlighting it right now, Spirit Walk. A couple Shadow Steps that do not have aftercast still, and like Greg just mentioned, the ally steps that we use to run this zone do not have aftercast. You'll notice that once we step to the enemy, we're immediately moving again. There's no pause. That's the aftercast that he's talking about. Do you guys have any closing words before we end this podcast? I think this was a great introductory podcast.
Yeah, this was a great introduction to running. I'd say it's a great overview. I'd say I'd hope it would get all of you interested in learning running. We're gonna have these podcasts coming out hopefully regularly. We'll see what happens. But there will be more of them, I can assure that. And we're probably gonna go over more specific areas of running within each podcast. But yeah, I hope you enjoy our podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, just going off of what Greg said, I just that I mean, I hope that people find something informative about this that they can take away from this and use it and become more interested in this, and also that people can understand that this is still happening. Like this does still happen in Guild Wars. Like you can still get runs. There are still skilled runners out there. It's not all just your guildies that are using, 15 consets and necromancer to run you everywhere and don't know what the fuck they're doing. You know, just this is, this is just an introduction, but I hope to get more into I don't know, just more quality stuff to keep you guys interested and to keep you guys playing Guild Wars and to hopefully get some new runners out there. And I hope you guys like this and there's
Definitely.
a lot you could take away from it.
This game is not dead. This game has been out since 2005. Betas began in 2004. This game has been around for a long time. I know that people are bored of it. They're moving out of Guild Wars 2. They're moving on to other MMOs. But we want to bring not necessarily something new, because running's been around for a long time, but bring something that's different to most people. We know there's not a lot of people that really got in depth with running like we have, and we want to kind of spark some sort of inspiration in people that once loved this game that no longer play it anymore, that want to find some way to get into it again. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to find a way so it brings more people back into this game. This game is great. It doesn't deserve to die, not this soon. It deserves to live on for many years to come. And we want to share those times with you. We want to spend time teaching you guys about running, why it's important, how it can help people, and that there's still a demand for this, and that you can still make money doing this. It's not a dead thing. It's not like you're just going to be running around by yourself. There's tons of people that still need to be ran to places. I get full parties all the time. Yesterday I got a full party for a full Nightfall tour. I got tons of money. This week I've made 250k in platinum plus maybe 10 ectos, and that's a lot more than some speed clearers can say these days.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, I mean, you can make mad money doing this shit. Like, I made 22E and 50k in 2 runs last week.
Yep, I've made a lot of money over running. I'd say Kodash and Bone Palace, definitely Bone Palace, which we'll get into in a later podcast, are probably one of the bigger runs. You can also do factions running, which can be worth a lot.
Definitely, because as Greg will say, as soon as you get to Kaineng Center in factions, you can beat Shiro with our rush in like an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
you have your Amulet of the Mists, and you've beaten the campaign, and you can get right into Winds of Change.
Mm-hmm,
And you can
exactly.
do it at like level 2, level 3, something like that. Something
Yeah, I think it was
ridiculous,
level
too.
4 on somebody I did.
So
Something
when we
crazy.
did our introductions, we didn't really get into like which areas of running we are good at, like what like zones we are, um like for instance, my main thing is factions and nightfall. As you could see, I got kind of unlucky on the sulfur run, but I'm not very good at prophecies, but my main areas of focus have always been factions and nightfall, especially. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Chicks. I'll finish.
I talked about this in the beginning a little bit. Mostly prophecies. I'm not too big into any one campaign. I mean, prophecies obviously is my main campaign that I love to pieces, but um, I'm kind of a specific zone kind of guy. Like, um, at one point I had the full Ice Dome run, records and all of it. Or full Marhan's run, excuse me. And Lornar's, obviously, big for me. Um, Tarai's Procession, at one point I had the record there. Vloxkin Excavations. Um, there's another zone in Nightfall, I forget. Vitendi Valley, maybe? something like that.
Right. That's the one
Uh,
with all those behemoths that'll cast those necromancer spells on you.
yeah. There's also I'm trying to think of other zones, but
You're
yeah,
really good at the Asuran areas in Eye of the North.
yeah, yeah. I know those pretty well, especially Shards of Ore because I used to Shards of Ore speed clear a lot, and I know some very weird shadow steps and things you can do in there. But yeah, Eastern areas in Eye of the North, Southern Shiver Peaks, Crystal Desert, certain areas of the Desolation, and Nightfall in general. I prefer like the Vabian and Coronet areas to the actual Desolation running, but yeah. Factions, I don't do a whole lot of factions. That kind of came out at a period where I wasn't really running much. I mean, I found some of the really early stuff, me and Flaming Teddy Bear. I don't even think anybody remembers him.
I
But
don't.
yeah, yeah. Used to call him Base. Anyway,
That's right. I do remember base.
yeah. He actually is the one that showed me the Death Step in the Kurzik zones way
That's right.
back when, which is what got
That
it
got
all
nerfed
started.
now, right?
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't work anymore. But yeah, no, I like factions running a lot actually. But yeah, I'm not super into that.
Right. So just to finish this off, I'll expand on what they just said. I'm a big all-around runner. I know pretty much every run. I can show you the optimal routes for Ascalon, the northern Shiver Peaks, the Maguma Jungle, where these guys get lost. I show them the way. Um, Krita, anywhere really in Prophecies. Nightfall. Actually, if you saw my live stream yesterday, Christ sakes, that was a fucking mess. I was drunk out of my mind too, so I died like 10 times. But still, some gates that were closed, that so I had to go all the way around to get into the zone, and I mean it was a complete mess. I had a full party of people, and I didn't remember the routes for shit. So I have to go back, and I'm going to be doing a live stream later where I do a practice session, doing a Nightfall tour, and I'm going to bring some people, and they're going to be ran for totally free. It's going to be free, and it's just going to be a practice session for me and a lot of fun. I'm going to do some commentary, but whatever. Nightfall, I'm trying to get back into again. 2008, I discovered the Desolation glitch, so I'm a big Desolation fan. Um, Factions. When I came back last year, I took a leave of absence, kinda, because I joined the military. But once I came back, Greg showed me some stuff that he figured out with Randy and in factions, like clipping through the gates, whatever. And he showed me this whole rush that you could do to get to endgame factions, and I was completely blown away. And when I went back to do it myself, it's just a pain in the ass because you have to rush missions. You have to do Boreal Seabed, you have to do Guyala Hatchery, you have to do Unawaking Waters, Imperial Sanctum, Raisu Palace, I believe, before that. And it's just a big pain in the ass. I'm not accustomed to rushing missions. I just like pure running. And yeah, it's definitely different, but it's very rewarding because a lot of people demand runs like that. As for Eye of the North, I'm still trying to figure out faster routes for Eye of the North. I think I've found some ways to make the run a little more efficient. I've gotten the run down pretty solid, and yeah, as I said, I'm a good all-around runner, but I'm still trying to own my skills and find better routes and find better builds and come up with great tactics with these guys. These guys are great. They're always here to support me and hang out with me and teach me things that they've discovered through their years of experience. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. This was an introductory podcast for us. We've never done something like this before. We never rehearsed what we were really going to talk about. I mean, we had a couple things in the beginning, like we wanted to introduce ourselves and what we're good at, etc. But this is something completely new for us. This is something I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this so far, and I want to do more of it. And I can tell that they want to do more of it too. I hope you enjoyed. You guys, anything you want to say in closing?
Not much, but yeah, I hope you stay tuned. There's more coming.
Yeah, no doubt.